Okay, so in part B, we're going to create a scene as a duplicate, actually, of the first level, the title screen. And so we're going to move this down so it is after the title scene. And then let's rename it to level 1 without any spaces. Okay, so double click on level 1 and then we'll start editing that. And if you click the wrong one like I just did, you can just go back and click on level 1, the correct one. So let's just delete everything and start all over again. Okay, so then we are going to place a small diamond and the user interface in the upper left-hand corner here. You can click and grab that to move it over if it's not in the right place. And then let it go, let the mouse button go. And then the user interface, this will just be the score. So if it's got some other text in there, you can just delete it. Okay. So the score will be the letter X, big or small, doesn't matter. And then we'll put a number 0 later on. We'll actually fill in values for that. I'm not really liking the color exactly, and it is kind of tough. You probably, against something that's a mixture of dark, mid gray, and light gray, you're going to have to use something with color. So I tried a bunch of things and finally ended up with something that was somewhat similar to the color of the small diamond. Okay, so I have that. I actually want to adjust the height. I put 4 for Y of that particular object and start creating a scene. Um, so first I'm going to show you that if you have walls that are these tiled sprite things, they can only be stretched down and to the right. So how I'm doing it, I'd like to have it flexible, but I actually need to start it where I drag it either down or to the right. So I'll do several more walls. I think the simplest way to think about these levels is you want to have a mixture of vertical and horizontal requirements for traveling through the maze. I mean, I guess you could make a big elaborate spiral. I'm not going to actually require, since this is a test level, that I accidentally moved the background. I want to bring that back. That was a mistake. So I just click somewhere on it and then drag it back down. I'd like to do Control Z, which is the undo in a text editor, but that doesn't quite work yet. So this is just my idea starting out. I'll go to the top and make some areas where they'll have to go from one area to the other through, you're forcing them through various um, mechanisms, narrow passageways here and there. And and there needs to be a temporary wall, some diamonds, avatar, and a starting place. I guess I can put a hole, boulders, and the goal. And I think I'm just going to keep it simpler. Uh, So you can go ahead and make the elements here. I'm not going to bother with the monsters yet. Okay, I think I need to put in a trigger and a bomb. And the idea later will be to have the trigger explode the bomb, and any nearby boulders will go away. And if we had some more time, we could actually get some explosion animation, which would just be for effects. It wouldn't really affect the game. Okay. So I wanted to make a comment that if you have a situation where you have a level, and this is a little underdeveloped, but that's fine. If you want to add more sprites that do similar things, you can do duplication. So I want to have some vertical sprites, some horizontal sprites, and some corners. So the existing wall sprites is actually more of a column, and it would only be, I don't know, in the corners, like a beam or a post that's there for stability. So I'm going to use those three little dots to the right of wall to duplicate the wall, and I'm going to rename it um, wall horizontal. And then, yeah, under those three, not only can you duplicate it, but you can, I need to go to the rename. There we are. And I wish there were a quick way where I could replace one object that's a tiled sprite with another. I'm looking, I can't really click on that. But oh yeah, you need to choose the image from this selection here. So at the bottom, I guess, there we are. There's a corner. It's like an internal inside of a structure, the internal corner, horizontal walls, and vertical walls. Okay, so we'll do some replacement here, and then see what that looks like. So yeah, that is a wall. I need to, there's no quick way that I can take a wall and tell it to turn into a horizontal wall. So I'll just delete it, I guess. So part of the reason why I did this duplication is if you have a specific Z order that helps drawing it, meaning certain objects like the avatar need to be in front of everything, and when that's a problem we can fix it. But if you have something that's at a certain layer, then it's just very easy to duplicate that object, and it will stick it in the Z order in the right place. Um, but I mean, as you add objects to the game, some of them are in the front, some of them are in the back based on your putting them in the room. So there will be some management of that. So I was thinking these horizontal walls need something at the end of them a little bit different. Um, and so maybe this would be good, where we have these posts, and when two walls make a right angle. You have a little, oh, you can click on something, do Control C, Control V for copy and paste, and then you need to drag the one that's on top away. Um, so now I'm needing to have a vertical wall, really. So again, you select the image from the folder at the bottom of the list there. So then you have to bring the vertical wall into the room, and it again is, you have to drag it down or to the right, which it wouldn't make much sense to do that one. So now is a question, how does that look? And so I think I'm going to go further here and duplicate this again to get another internal wall, but this one would be a corner. And find the corner artwork. Select that image from the bottom of the list of files here. Alright. Now I think that's going to look like an internal post. Yeah. So now there's just some more editing to do to get this all where it has some consistent structure. Okay, so now we need to make some custom variables for level 1. There will be 3 of them for the scene variables. The variables are walk delay time, walk timer, and play walk sound. So the first one, and you have to actually overwrite the text that says variable. So walk delay time, that's how long it is between when the player can make a move. So let's just use 1/3 of a second, approximately 0.33. And then the timer, so this is actually something that's called a constant. We don't intend to actually change this. Oh, and checking on the checkbox doesn't mean anything. That's only for copying, pasting, and deleting a variable. So don't worry about that. So the second variable's name is walk timer. The purpose of that will start, it gets a value at 0.33, then it counts down to 0 based on the speed of your particular machine. And we just need to give it some starting value. And there's also the question about should we play a walk sound, meaning if you move, you normally walk and play a sound. And we'll have to set this to the global true and false because I'm not sure if this initial value is anything but a literal. So yeah, you don't want to play a sound if you collided with the wall because you didn't actually get to move. So we will work through that logic together. And it will make some sense. Okay, so those are the scene variables. So within the person object, according to my notes, that's the next thing we do. So this is a different type of variable. If there was more than one person object, each person object, oh, that's just the artwork. In order to get to the person variables, you have to do the three dots and then get to the edit object variables. And then you have to add some categories with a name and a value. So every object has its own custom copy of its custom variables. So we're going to have an x old and a y old here. And we can just set them to 0 to begin with, which is it's just fine. So this is a coordinate that the avatar used to be on. I don't mean to check that. I mean to click just to the right of the check and get the y underscore old. So yeah, this will be a temporary value holding the x and y of the player, and if the x and the y of the player does some kind of collision that we don't want, we pull it back to the old values of x and y. Okay, so that's another type of variable. We actually, in the events, at the start of the scene, we're going to do a built-in timer variable which only counts up. So let's delete all of this. We don't want to do any key pressed. We don't want to change to scene ending. We're not playing music. And it's more convenient to not have the music playing when we're doing this stuff here. Oh, I forgot to add the bomb. So next to a boulder or two boulders, that's where we want the bomb to be. Okay. So this is what I mentioned before. You click on this timers and we're going to pause a scene timer. This, in computer science language terminology, is called instantiating a timer. So the act of pausing a timer makes that name of that, which is in quotes, it's a different type of variable. The next level timer, that's going to be part of the system, and we can use it later on as long as we've mentioned it first. So that means we've instantiated it. So it's just going to hold a value at 0. Okay, so every time we run the game, I clicked on the person object and I went to modify variable, and I'm going to say x underscore old is equal to, and then I need the object name person dot x, and x has got parentheses afterwards and it's capitalized, and this is a kind of an object oriented notation. It's almost like treating one of the coordinate dimensions as a function that you call and you get access. Ask the person object, where are you in the x direction? Same thing for y old. I did a control C and control V, and then I pasted this. So now y old of the person is going to be set to person.y open paren close paren, and it has to be capital Y. This is case sensitive. Okay, so there is something else to do, that we're going to display the score. So I clicked on the user interface. I'm going to change that. Actually, they call it modify the text, and it's going to equal x with a space and then a plus sign, and then the global variable, which it has to be changed into a string. So I need to say first TOS and click on toString, and then I'm going to change to a string the global variable, and that itself is a function with parentheses, and it's going to change the score. So I have to type this score out exactly. My voice dictation is interfering here. And then I have two matching parentheses at the end. So it's like a function within it calling a function to grab a number, changing it to text, and the plus sign indicates that that is concatenation, or pasting two strings into one big longer string. Okay, so I need another action. Actually, I need a condition first, and that is based on the value of the walk timer. So I could actually type in VAL for value. I think that will work. Or I could have clicked um, to go find the variable section. So the value of a scene variable, this is our walk timer. This, when it is equal to 0, you are allowed to, the player is allowed to move the person object around. So it needs to be equal to 0, and let's just use up first. We have to do all four directions, and the code will be very similar. So to also simultaneously check for something else, you just click underneath the first condition to create a kind of custom event. And so in the event that a certain key is pressed, and then you type in up, down, left, or right, and they actually have all of these as constants that are very easy to put into your game. Spelling is important, so it's easier to just click on their spelling of it. So if that's the case, then we're just going to assume we can move that person object. So I'm going to click on the person, and I'm going to take the Y direction. We've got to scroll down a little bit. Y position of that object is going to be less. That means I'm subtracting. I need to subtract, that is. There we are. 32 for 32 pixels. And then I need to stop more motion. So that's when I change the value of the scene variable and then find my walk timer again. And the walk timer now is going to now I have to say equal, and then this is funny notation. You start typing VAL for value. So there's VAR for variables, and then you have to type out walk underscore delay underscore time to get access to that variable. This is because the way this language is, when variables are on the right-hand side of an assignment statement, you have to get into the right space that those variables are in. So variable with a capital V, open paren, walk underscore delay underscore time. So that indicates I'm going to be at 0.33 seconds. And if I don't do that, my players would be able to run really quickly through the maze. And they wouldn't even see it because they would be moving 32 squares, or actually 60 squares a second. So I'm going to do some shift clicking on these conditions on the left, and then I hover over that add, and then I click on paste conditions. I'm going to change up to down. And then I need to do the opposite with the Y position. I need to add 32. And let's see if I can switch. Oop, I dragged the condition to the wrong place. Okay, so I'm trying to make these look uniform. It doesn't actually matter on the left side of the conditions, the order that you check it in. I mean, it does matter in some ways what you do on the right for the actions. And again, you can copy and paste actions here. So I'm going to add 32, and the other one is just going to say the same. That walk delay timer, because it's not 0, there will be some time, a third of a second, that goes by before the player moves again, and then the game mechanics will be a little bit more challenging, but not crazy speed fast and out of control where you can't position yourself down a narrow hallway. So I'm going to do more copy and paste and do left and right. So going left, that's in the x direction as a negative value. Oh, there's my voice dictation jumping in. Um, so we need to change the x position of person by subtracting 32. So I'm going to find the person. There we are. And then we're going to change the x position by a minus, actually subtract 32 from it. You could have also added a negative 32, but I'm wanting to keep things simple. Okay, so we've got one more to do. Right key is pressed. We will have a nearly identical code, but we'll add 32 to the x position. So Ri is enough. There we go. More big voice dictation jumping in. Okay, so then copying the x position and making it a positive 32, addition of that, paste and double click. Okay. So I want to do some more stuff before testing, even though this actually is a lot of code. But I want to have a person collision with the diamond. Let's have our diamond, and I'm just going to click type D, then I can find the diamond easier. I want to ignore objects that are touching. I really need a proper collision, a big overlap. So I would always check on that yes in the games that I make with this game engine. So yeah, if I have a diamond that I'm on top of, that one, when it says delete diamond, it's actually quirky. It deletes the diamond that is part of the collision, not all diamonds. Outside of a collision, it would delete all the diamonds. So that is kind of specific knowledge for this. I need to increase the score and play a sound when I collect a diamond. So I'm doing three things, and these three things, it actually doesn't matter at all which order I do them in. So, yeah, there's play a sound. It's under the audio category. I typed in PLAY. I have a pickup coin sound. I don't want to repeat it. I'm just going to use the default values because that seems to work really well. Okay, so what I can do next is make it where I can test it. So that says, what do you call it? If the scene variable walk timer is greater than 0, I need to subtract from it. So I'm looking for this variable under variables, the scene variable. The value of walk timer, yeah, if it's greater than 0, I'm going to subtract some system dependent value called, so yeah, scene variable of walk timer greater than 0. Then under other actions, variables, I need to then value of a scene variable walk timer, I'm going to subtract a system-dependent amount of time called time delta. So this is a function that changes from desktops to laptops depending on how fast your machine is running. It'll probably be at 1/60th of a second. There's a way to display that. You can find out your frames per second. On something really slow, it might be down to like 20 frames a second. So if it gets too low, walk timer would be less than 0. We need to set it to 0. So I'm just going to copy this and then fiddle with it such that if it's less than 0, that means we've perfectly gone over. That's fine. You don't have to hit 0 exactly. I want to set walk timer to 0, and that will allow the player to move again at a reasonable pace. Oh, I overwrote the good one. When the walk timer is less than 0, my action would be to change the scene variable. I'm going to paste that below to 0. Yeah, so now going back, if the walk timer is greater than 0, I'm going to subtract the time delta function. Now this time delta thing is very similar to what you will have in 3D game development. So all systems have a very similar look and feel to it. Okay, so let's add a few more elements, do another test to make sure that's working. If you didn't get that working, take a look at this, and if that doesn't really fix things, you have to be precise with the spelling in terms of uppercase and lowercase. You can certainly talk to your instructor. So let's see. The next thing to do would be add some more custom condition tests, which I call those events. So I want to see if the temporary walls are there and the diamonds are gone. So the reward for getting all of the diamonds is that the temporary walls are going to go away. So let's see, this temporary wall, we need a count of these. And I don't think they have it right here. I think I actually have to go to these other conditions. Is that here? Compare two numbers. So this is a function. So yeah, there's a built-in counter, and you can't really click on the object to get it. That would be nice. So this temp wall, that's going to have to be, if it's greater than 0 and you've gotten all the diamonds. So let's add another similar thing here. I'm just going to type count. Item count. Item in an inventory. That's not what we want. We have to go to the functions. Functions. Wow. Okay, so this is under other. Compare two numbers. First number is going to be the count. Yeah, I wish the count was a little bit more accessible. So how many diamonds are there? And if there are exactly equal, then you can reward the player by finding all of the temp walls. And when you click on that and just say delete, because it's not part of a collision, it will delete all of the temporary walls, not just like the nearest one that nearest the avatar. It will do all of them. Okay, so that will allow the avatar to get in and out of different areas. So then if the person is in collision with these walls, or a temporary wall, or a boulder, that's where we want to move the person back to this X old and Y old that we spent time setting that up. So let's focus on that. So this is an advanced logic um, notation here. This OR allows you to test rather than having multiple things having simultaneous action. You can test if any of them happened. So let's see. And this invert is supposed to say that, you know, the condition is not happening, but I've tried it and it may not work entirely. Um, so let me show you how you can do that. So once you've done this two vertical bars, which is two pipe symbols, that's a symbol from the C language. Those two symbols together indicate OR. Subconditions are all the collisions that have to do with walls that are going to stop the, um, well, maybe we should do this. We will click on the person first, collision with the wall corner. Yes, we ignore touching objects. We just want a clear overlap. So the person's going to be in collision. There's a reason why I chose this one first. So if I copy that, paste it a bunch of times, whoops, wall corner. So wall horizontal. And it has the same settings. Wall vertical. And you can use the up and down arrow keys. The wall, the temp wall, and a boulder here. Okay, so if any of those happen, our player cannot really move forward. So we're going to change the position of the player. So the player is moving the person object around. So I click on person, and then I'm going to, below this position category, I'm going to actually do this. This allows you to change X and Y simultaneously. So these both are going to be equal. And this is another special notation. We're going to go inside of the person object, and then there's a dot to say that all the different things that are functions and variables inside of there we can get at. And to get at a variable, we actually have to type .var, as capital V. So this is another category of variable from global and scene variables. And then we have our xold, which we saved every time we went through the code. Each step that we went through the code, we set xold to what x was. And so this is going to do the capital X variable to xold. And if I could just copy this, that would be so convenient to paste here. Okay, so if that's a collision that is not allowed in the game, the person doesn't move because it's going back to the xold and yold. And also this scene delay, a scene variable of the walk delay time, it can go back to 0 really. Now that you know that was a mistake, that you're not really moving around, then you can move again. Okay, so um, I'm going to test this, and then we're going to do a next level thing. And as I change the levels, I think I'm going to have to change the introduction, or the intro level, so that it goes to this level 1 first. But that's okay. So let's just test this much. So let's see, if I walk, I cannot go into that, I cannot go into that. If I try to get out, I can't go to the left. I'm trying to avoid the hole there because that might be a mess. Don't have code for that. Okay, so I've just done that. I could put a sound right there for that moment of deleting that. And I'm going to see if I can get through a boulder here. Nope. Okay, so vertical walls, horizontal walls, these corners I can't walk through. So everything is behaving as it should. Okay, so the next thing to do is to add a couple more events. So the first one, and both of these together, the purpose of these will be to deal with the player having a collision with the person object and the goal flag. And then when that happens, we're going to delete the goal, play the goal sound, unpause the next level timer, and that will help us get to the next level. Okay, so let's see here. We're going to go to the person collision, and then we'll pick the goal there. And yes. And so the first thing to do, it says we're going to delete the goal. Okay. And we're going to play a sound. Goal.wave. You might have to add it in there. I can repeat the sound, just use the defaults. And unpause this timer that we set up called next level timer. So the timer that was paused will not be paused anymore. It will be unpaused. So this is under other actions timer, timers and time. Unpause a scene timer. Let's see here. It has to be spelled exactly, next level timer. Okay. So then once the sound is played, which is it's close to 2 seconds, we'll have a slight further delay and then go to the next level. So let's do this. The condition would be for the scene timer to have a certain value. Wait, time in seconds. I need to write that 2.4, 2.5 would work, 2.3, getting it kind of short. This is the timer's name. This category of variables is in quotes for some reason. That's the way it collects a list of strings that represent the built-in timers that count only up. Okay. So that will guarantee that there will be enough time where the goal will be gone and there will be some sound, and then you'll get to the next level after this 2.4 second delay. I'd like to go to level 2 here, but I didn't really create that, so under scene I'm just going to pick the ending and later on change it. And that will also have to be done with the intro. Sure, we'll just stop any paused scenes. It may not matter if we're running a simple game which just goes straight through from level to level. Okay, so to test it, you go through the game where you get to the flag, go around the boulders, and listen. That seems like a good 2.4 seconds is plenty. Not too fast, not too slow is really what you're looking for. And that's the end of part B.